trying to sell me his timeshare on Facebook, whose name is Henry, and I was just interacting back and forth with him again because when Miller's
you
talking,
should definitely buy that timeshare because they're good,
Okay.
good investments.
well, whenever Miller's talking, as you know, as he does to me, when he's talking, I check out, and it's a guy named Henry that I was negotiating with on his timeshare. Anyway, my favorite new store, the Whole Wellness Co-op. There's one in Santa Barbara and there's one in Laguna Beach, and that's you may have actually seen. I've posted about them on Facebook a little bit, Phyllis. Anyway, the Whole Wellness Co-op, both in their Santa Barbara location and in their Laguna Beach location, because of the size of both of their establishments, it's very small. They only have one bathroom. So what they've done is they have a chalkboard, and it's on the chalkboard, it right on the door of the bathroom, of the restroom, of the comfort station. They actually call it a comfort room, to be clear. But what you do is you write your gender identification on the door before you use the restroom, and so it transforms into whatever gender identification restroom you might have at that particular time.
That's a good idea.
That sounds far too basic a solution to the problem. I think that store should have at least 4 bathrooms, maybe more. Regardless,
so you're thinking that the local city council should
problem.
Close them down until they've actually opened up 4 different restaurants?
I think they should be shut down until they have at least 4 bathrooms.
See, listen, I gotta agree. I gotta agree with Phyllis here, because that, why should someone have to, just to go to the bathroom? Why should they have to declare their gender?
Look, I can't tell you how many times I've been in a co-op and I just feel like an urge to have a bowel movement. So I know I'm not alone in that department. So it's got to be. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are there that just really are waiting to use that single bathroom with the chalk. And by the way, what about people that are illiterate? I mean, they're not going to be able to write their gender on the thing. And what about what is the the proper symbol for the appropriate genders? People may not know that, and people may be very surprised when they walk in and find extra plumbing, so to speak.
Well, one of the problems they've had is that when somebody does leave the restroom, if they're not erasing the chalk nomenclature that they've left on the door, the next person that comes in accuses the previous occupant of a microaggression by leaving their gender identification on. So they're, here's the thing: is I'm looking at this article looking at this article in Time, Mike, and it's appropriate to have Phyllis on because I think the last paragraph of this article needs to be read, and I'd like to volunteer to do it.
Go for it.
Because Phyllis, I think you may be able to give us a little perspective on it, and it's kind of to a certain extent honoring you. So let me read this. Women aren't standing in lines because we bond over toilet paper pattern or because we're narcissistic and vain. We're standing in line because our bodies, like those of trans and queer people, have been historically shamed, ignored, and deemed unworthy of care and acknowledgement. We shouldn't have to wait or postpone.
Preach it, sister. Sorry.
No, that's fine. We shouldn't have to wait or postpone having these needs fairly met in a public space.
Oh man, that's just beautiful. That's like the Declaration of Independence. That's right up there.
As far as I'm concerned, public and social policy should be operated and should be completely surrounded around the concept of should. What should be is how things should be done, in my opinion.
You know what? And here's the deal too. If you're going to have generic bathrooms, there should definitely not be urinals in them, right? Because that in and of itself is sexist. There should either be toilets or listen. I've been to restaurants in Paris where you walk in there and there are just holes in the floor.
Look. That's not only sexist; it discriminates against really short people. Because, if you've got somebody in there who's a person of smaller stature, we don't call them midgets anymore, but somebody who maybe was on Carnivale or something, one of those guys, they walk in there and they're literally their face is looking at other people's business, and it's just that's discrimination right there. I mean, a urinal in of itself is discrimination.
Good point.
That's a very good point. Well, Phyllis, thank you so much for calling in. Good luck.
Oh, it's my
on
pleasure.
Your travels.
I gotta figure out how I can get some good organic tofu here in Paris. It's not looking good for me.
Well, you know what? And we wish you the best of luck trying to return home from beautiful Paris, California. Thanks for calling in.
Absolutely, man.
All right.
Girl.
God, you know what, Mike? I'm looking at this thing, and it's funny when you go to a website like The Onion or The Daily Current.
Right.
You know that it's satirical and parody because every single thing they put up is satire and mocking. But when I look at this Time magazine thing, the everyday sexism of women waiting in public toilet lines, because it's on Time, and this woman, Soraya Chemaly, media critic and activist, where does it say that she's written? Oh my gosh, dude. She's written is it a she? Yes, it is a she.
Yes, it's a she.
Salon, Ms. Magazine, The Guardian, Reality Check, The Feminist Wire. Is this fake or is it real? I don't know.
It's real. It's real. I mean, look. I mean, this is how ridiculous everything has become. I mean, at least, what I love about The Onion, and you mentioned we both have. I mean, satire and dude, there are times I have clicked. Sometimes later at night, when I'm kind of just decompressing after working all day. But on stories on The Onion that I just I can't catch my breath sometimes. I mean, I literally have tears rolling down my face. And of course, the key to any humor, including satire, there has to be an element of truth or irony. And that's what's hilarious about the satirical site. But yeah, when you read something like this in Time magazine, or on Salon or Slate or anywhere else, and it's real, that's even kind of funnier in a whole different context.
Well, I kind of wonder if this is Time, and maybe it's just because it's the world that I live in, because I almost wonder if this is Time magazine, trying to change course and to be a site that people would actually be interested in reading. Because if they put up this kind of stuff on a regular basis with this kind of humor,
sign us up.
I'd probably start reading it again. Oh gosh, man, that's so entertaining.
We do have to. We appreciate Phyllis calling in, and we do wish her well in her transition, don't we?
Oh, we absolutely do.
Who better to have on the show to talk about sexist bathrooms?
Yeah, no, speaking of California stuff, by the way, two big things just happened in California. And I'm not sure, being there in flyover country, if you're really up to speed on the important things that are going on here in
not at all. Not at all.
Okay, well, two things. Number one is that yesterday, well, was it yesterday or was it? No. It was 2 days ago on Monday. We broke ground on the high-speed rail up in the San Joaquin Valley.
Right. Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah, it's supposed to go from San Francisco to Los Angeles, but what they're doing to start it out is going from Bakersfield to just south of Fresno.
See, and that makes that you might as well be speaking Latin right there, because I have no idea what that means.
Okay, well, the San Joaquin Valley is the breadbasket of California. That's where most of all the produce is, and San Joaquin Valley is on the north of LA. Just
right.
North of the city of Los Angeles is the San.
So Bakersfield to Fresno or wherever the hell else you said. How far is that?
That's a few hundred miles.
Okay.
It's a few hundred miles, and that's in the vast central plains of California.
Okay.
So it's where all the stuff is grown, right? It's not to be confused with the San Fernando Valley of Valley Girl fame. That's just a Chinatown fame from the movie that's just immediately north of LA. This is a couple hours north of LA, over the hills, down into the valley.
Okay.
And then it's basically flat, nothing, all the way up to the Bay Area.
Got it. By the way, just a quick digression. Chinatown was an awesome movie.
Yeah, great movie. It was all about water in the San Fernando Valley.
Yeah. Anyway, so
Anywho, so this first thing here, at this point, the state of California expects it's going to be $68 billion. The state itself, they've launched the project. They've only got $12.6 billion in financing, federal funding, and a state-approved bond measure. And just for fun, guess how many private companies, how much private investment, how many private dollars are involved at this point in this high-speed rail?
I would say zero, but I don't know how many.
It would be exactly zero.
Right.
So they've got roughly 20% of the money set aside, all government money, and they expect it to be 12 years before this thing is built. And if they're forecasting today $68 billion, let's assume it actually does get built, what percentage of $68 billion do you think will actually be spent? What would be your guess?
That's a projected budget?
The projected budget over the next 12 years is $68 billion. What
I would guess 2 to 3. I would guess 2 to 3 times that amount.
I would guess 2 to 3 times that amount as well. Okay, so that's one thing from California. The second thing is that last year foie gras was banned. 2004, foie gras was banned. The law went into effect 8 years later after various legal changes. So for 2 years, foie gras has been illegal in California until Monday.
Wow.
A judge overturned it, and so now you can sell and consume foie gras here in the state of California.
Well, that's awesome. But before we get to foie gras, let's just back up a minute because I think that you're being just a bit too critical about your home state. Because as we all know, the not so golden state of California is flush with money, dude. I mean, they run budget surpluses, record year after year. So why should they not do this boondoggle?
I can't come up with a single reason why we shouldn't do this boondoggle.
Okay, let's move on to foie gras.
Because you can fly from Los Angeles to San Francisco in about an hour and a half.
Okay.
So the train is going to take longer than flying, but it's going to be less than driving a car. The cost, of course, will be slightly more. It'll cost you It'll be a little bit less to take the train from LA to San Francisco than it would be to fly. But this is where, we're going to end up. Well, some of your money's already been spent. I mean, the Obama has set aside about $8 billion federal dollars to fund this Central California high-speed train. Oh,
so let me ask you a question about that because again, you live there, I do not. So if you had to get from LA to San Francisco, and given what you just said, the cost would be, and let's assume it will. That it will be less. I don't know how much less, 25% or more, whatever. Would you take a train or would you just hop on a jet and get there?
Well, you know what? It's really funny. A few years ago, my kids went to a camp in the north of California, and they had to get to Sacramento. So what we did is we bought back-to-back tickets to fly the kids to Sacramento. We were going to spend the weekend in San Francisco and then come home, and then fly the back end of those tickets to go pick them up. We figured that by the time we left my house in Orange, drove to LAX, got through the checkpoints.
Well, that part's true too, yeah.
Flew to San Francisco, rented a car, and drove to Sacramento. And then on the back side, we actually flew LAX to San Francisco to Sacramento. We figured that by the time had we left our house an hour earlier and just driven straight the hell to Sacramento, had we left the house an hour earlier, we would have got there at the same time.
See, that's the same thing between Chicago and Indianapolis, so I get it. Believe it or not, Mr. Hausum, we are out of time. This has been a great show, dude. This is The Right Mics with Mike Miller and Michael Hausum. We'll be back tomorrow for sure, 2 o'clock Eastern time. Be here. Be here. We're going to have another good time. See y'all.